as well. So we see, a large contingent from Rhino. They're going to have a U18 elite team for girls, a U18 elite team for
Using
boys.
The space, great speed as well. Also a fantastic team, great program.
Yep, we see them wearing the black jerseys. I saw them also have yellow, I think neon green, neon yellow. So they're kind of the Oregon Ducks. Sevens, it doesn't matter. You can win a game with your speed and your passing. You can win the game at the contact point. We see, if we're going to compare them to other sides, the Snow Canyon team reminds me a little bit of Wales Sevens. They're a little bit shorter, but they're super quick and they use a good kicking game.
And we'll see how they fare here in the scrum. I mean, they're a lot smaller.
And we see Snow Canyon do a good job on their scrum and some solid defense, shooting hard with this Rhino team, quite aggressive. I guess stampeding on defense.
Very aggressive defense. I like it. I like that style. Putting the pressure on their speedy backs. Let's see if they try and force them to make the mistake.
So this is a more Northern California-based team out of these Rhino academies. They've got, again, teams kind of all over. I think affiliation with Rhino Rugby, the great rugby provider. Of course, we have Canterbury that's providing sponsorship of the And they go to the weak side. Look at that, a nice little switch to the weak side. And this is where it becomes interesting because in sevens, a lot of the times off of the scrum, we'll see the hooker go back to the sweeper position. But a lot of teams have started deploying their scrum half back to sweeper.
That's true.
And so depending on situations on the field, it gives you a little bit of breathing room. Of course, Snow Canyon in the attacking part of the field, past halfway, and their choice with the tap and go and running their plays seems to have paid off. They're getting right about 5 meters away from the goal line.
Another high tackle looks like we got here. These tall runners, it is very difficult to bring them down without jumping on their back like a lion on a gazelle.
I was going to quote from one of my favorite movies. They're going to come at them like a spider monkey.
That's even better. That's better. But it just reminds me of the lion jumping on the back of some big water buffalo.
I don't think any sevens player wants to be compared to a water buffalo.
Well, yeah.
These are our fittest athletes, our most finesse, the good footwork.
Well,
so
unless you look at
gazelles.
Danny Barrett could be a water buffalo, but he's a very fit water buffalo.
Danny Barrett kind of does. Wearing a Cal Golden Bears jersey.
Who knows?
We have Cal alumni Seamus Kelly out here coaching with Play Rugby USA, so he might have a line back to Jack Clark saying, hey, check these guys out. They run some fantastic rugby camps, and they are our 2016 Varsity Cup champions. They played that championship here in Utah. Rio team under construction.
Yeah.
So where did they play in Provo?
BYU Stadium.
They did.
Yeah.
So BYU, the hometown team, playing in their home stadium, unfortunately lost, but they had won the last 2 iterations.
They did, and that's a great rivalry forming between those 2 universities.
It is, and of note too, the BYU women played in the D1 Elite Championship, so that was a new. Where they played twice just for a friendly, and then they played each other in the West Final of the D1 Elite, and it was BYU that came away 12-5 winners and got to play Penn State in that D1 Elite Final. So a great program there, building quite well. I had the chance to talk to their coach, Tom, last year when we were out in Pittsburgh. So the year before this, BYU was playing in 2015 in just the D1 finals. And it was actually them, Central Washington, Life, and Westchester coming out of the women's side in Pittsburgh. But some great growth with their program and great development. And I know the great thing about this Utah rugby scene is a lot of these high school players will stay in Utah. And BYU, Utah State, of course the U.
Yep.
Your alma mater.
The real U, right? University of Utah.
And, even Southern Utah. We saw Utah State women play in the Division II Women's Sevens National Championships this year.
Great. They're getting a lot better.
They made the plate final there.
Continually improving, and that's awesome. And also see Utah Valley University, UVU,
yes,
in the D1 ranks. They're doing really well also. And they've got a great new coach, Adam Griffey, who's a former teammate of mine at Utah. And he'll do some amazing things at UVU. I'm really excited to see what they do.
Yeah. So with this history here, we'll see which one of these players might become the next Maka or the next Threaten Palamo.
Yeah, we'll see.
You talked about Threaten before. I don't think I've met anyone that them on his backs, and of course be laughing and smiling the whole way he was doing it.
And then shaking your hand.
Together. I know this Rhino program, they do draw from multiple programs. So they are like a NorCal
Rhino
team.
does.
When I was looking at some of their other rosters between their girls U18s and their boys U18s, there's players from like Granite Bay, there's players from kind of St. Mary's tackled him underneath and held onto him so that he could not put the ball down. Gave him like a little bit of a reverse bear hug and got under him and held up that try. So you never know what's going to happen in sevens. That was, the championship saving tackle in the final minute of play with the strength and the core power to make the tackle and hold the guy from being able to just roll over and dive and put that ball down with his momentum. So we'll see what happens here in the second half of play. Again, we don't know what's going to happen.
We have no idea. I mean, this has been a great battle so far. Snow Canyon up 12-5. But that, again, it's like almost like basketball with a 2-point lead. That really doesn't mean much.
It's just we don't have free throws here. We're not going to have intentional fouls at the end of this game. We want to avoid the penalties because in sevens, if we do have a yellow card, which we're not going to see very frequently in these high school tournaments with such skilled players, but every now and then we see we like to kind of say, to break it down easily, that possession is the advantage. So they'll let teams, play on a short advantage because there's just not that much time to be playing in these 7 minutes. Energy. They don't need to follow the ball like they're going to do in 15s. So should there be tackles downfield on the left side as Rhino's attacking, they have the option to come back. On the ground, you're allowed once you're down to make that one move to try to reach and score for the try, but as he rolled and didn't release, that's a penalty against, and now it's Snow Canyon. No sweeper back from Rhino.
Great kick and chase. Oh, he should have kicked that. Keep it on the ground, soccer style.
And now we have advantage shown, so when we see the
Especially in the scrum, where you can't see all of it happening. But hey, it's a classy game. It's a very, very classy game.
That's right. You stay classy, Rugby Sevens. I'm on a Will Ferrell kick right now. It's on this California talk. He's a But Joe Biden, Vice President Joe Biden, met with some of the All Blacks, and they gave him a jersey, and he said, my brother and I used to play, and, was talking about, how there's no way he could tackle them. So we said, hey, Vice President Biden, let's get you a USA Rugby jersey.
Did he say yes or no?
Well, I don't have a direct line to him. I've had some contact with President Obama back when I was in Chicago,
right.
So maybe we can do that. We were trying to see if we could get Michelle Obama and Let's Move involved with rugby. It'd be a great partnership for someone to take up, especially as they're No, they met when they were in
awesome?
law school. They gave that big speech the other night. I had some of the convention coverage from both parties on while I was doing all my research for the tournament. So I was able to tune out what I didn't like and just focus on the rugby. But, snippets here and there. But back to the rugby on the field. I guess moral of the story is, if you want to be the president of the United States, 55 over 65. So if these kids out here are 13 and 14, they could have 50-year playing careers.
That's unbelievable.
You know, and I think right now the longest serving rugby player I can think of might be Patty Jervey with the Atlanta Harlequins. She has been inducted into the World Rugby Hall of Fame. She played in 4 of the 5 World Cups, if I recall correctly.
Awesome.
Still stepping on the field in the centers, still coaching the game of rugby. A fantastic athlete, phenomenal person. You know, we look at some of the older men's players. Gosh, when it comes to game of sevens, I think 28 is old. But
yeah, it is.
Is it Falau Nioa might be the elder statesman of the men's team for the Olympics?
I don't know. I can't remember.
You know, we saw Todd Clever had such a long international career as well.
You know, I was about to say Todd as well. I mean, I think he's still got a good 10 years left in him.
Yeah, Todd involved in Austin Rugby right now, you know, with the Austin Huns and their new pro status that they've announced. They've got a partnership with Racing 92 over in France and brought Todd on as their celebrity ambassador, if you will. You know, it must have been that ESPN body issue that he did raising his profile. Never mind all these World Cups and caps 7s and 15s.
They called me as a former hooker, and they're like, yeah, no, we're going to go Todd instead. No, I really told them I couldn't do it. I was busy.
We were talking shapes and sizes earlier, too, and there's a gentleman by the name of Celeste Sika that made an appearance here at Pioneer Sevens last weekend. And one of his friends informed us that one time weighing in at camp, Celeste had a long-time career playing on the wing, and at one of the Eagles camps, he weighed in as the 3rd heaviest player on the team, including the tight 5, but had the speed and agility and the little nimbleness. So eyes wide open on the wing, just thinking, my goodness.
You've got a lot of these young players looking up to these older players like that, and the Celeste being a candidate from Utah, a product of Utah, the state of Utah. He played at BYU, and you know, he's had a lot of influence on a lot of these younger players.
They're rugby heroes and otherwise. I had some just reply with Spider-Man. But, you know, if you had that ability to catch the ball with webbing, I think that'd be quite good. We actually teach some young players sometimes to do Spider-Man passes and pretend they're shooting a web, so that they get that nice straight pass instead of having it float high in the air or dipping low on the ground. We don't want to give our teammates hospital passes, as they're termed.
Great tackle.
But, man, earlier we nearly saw a great steal by that number 14 from Rhino. I think referee called him offsides or not going through the gate. See in sevens, there's a lot of challenge at the ruck, and there will be teams that don't defensively ruck as much because they're trying to either make a play on the ball or a line on defense to make sure they're covering everybody.
Right.
So not quite legal there, but that's what that number 14 from Rhino was looking to do, and he nearly had that steal, and he had the entire weak side of the field open.
He did. That could have been the game changer, and that was a really tough fought battle. Really fun to watch the two styles between these two different teams. Snow Canyon on top, 12-5 over Rhino Jr. I wouldn't be surprised to see both these teams go pretty far in the tournament.
No, that was a great contest. And again, this U14 level players that are just, you know, 13, 14 years old, embracing the sport of rugby, coming up through different tag programs and whatnot, getting the academy experience here with Rhino, Snow Canyon, just a fantastic rugby program and establishment. We're actually going to see the Rhino, one of their senior teams here as we go to the boys U18 Open coming up next, the Rhino Academy, and playing against the Cedar Park Warlords out of Texas. So I was making that transition earlier, talking about Austin, because the Cedar Park team is in their first year. They've been playing 6 months of rugby at all.